MMT's on the opening bid. There's that Apple chart right here, 3-minute. Now this one up here is the Nasdaq comp 3-minute. They slid the bid on the comp, and naturally that goes with it. That made the bear or the bull a short right when that happens. And you can see it came all the way down here to that teeny line, and you can see that once again it was everything we said in pre-market. They shot that artificial price movement and once again sold short down into it. So basically that's the 3, that's slide to bid to 6, that's price action at the teeny line, that's the Nasdaq trying to get support. You can see other names are doing the same thing. If I show Google here, which I can, Google will represent just like, and here's a Google chart right here. Here's the Apple slide the bid. Now, this momentum right here, we can see exactly where everything was in our info panel. And we're going to be testing to see if that data is correct. Yes, it is. And you can see how we're getting made right here on this one. Apple's along right there. The Nasdaq is firming up. So, artificial gap on the Nasdaq, 369. Bam! Apple gap, 369 right down to here. The Google gap, making a high, making a support line there at that action, teeny action line. That's that opening. Slide that bid. Slide that bid. 369 on slide the bid. Now we're going to see if we can take out on the way back up and see if there's any momentum in the next 369. That's that opening bell on those names right there. On the opening bell, so far we have 10 minutes. The fear indicator on the VIX is breaking out, and you can see how the Nasdaq as well is reversing. So when this breaks higher, these go down. That's how you know when to slide the bid. That's when you short the bull.
Long SCX.
And when this breaks higher, markets sell off. They go invert of each other, and we are exactly 10 minutes on the live opening bell. SMF MMTs, here's a picture right now. We're almost in a 369, 12, 15 minute. Here's that S&P 500 gap, and we're above that psychological Lehman Brothers in the first 15 minutes on 12/9 of 2010. Getting back up there in that S&P. We're going to see here if we can hold this price action here. And right now, it appears that the dollar price pre-market futures gap has gotten a 369 teeny consolidation here in the brain, and we're going to watch and see how the current trend ratio here holds and what the numbers end up being. That IR right there, IR, when it turned down, that's this one right here. When that goes down, the S&P is weak. So we're going to see, you'll see in your IR throughout the intraday level, if it's still pointing down, and we're fading below 1232.23. Every time we've gotten above this 1230 level on the S&P, all week long, they have been selling short into those highs. And when we made equity highs earlier in the week, they sold them down extremely hard during all of the highs. We're at 7-month highs. They sold into it. A lot of intraday 52-week highs or near their 52-week highs, they were also selling off. And that's what this whole week has been. And it's Thursday, 12/9 of 2010, and we're 15 minutes into the opening bell. And we can see that the Dow right here and the Nasdaq and the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 have all diminished. They have gapped. They have not collapsed. This one is consolidating. The VIX is in positive territory. The VXN, which is a fear indicator to the Nasdaq 100, has finally leveled off at the lower levels. That means that certain technology stocks and tech stocks are going to do well. One thing I'm going to let people know, what a great short on the FCX. Again, a great short on the FCX pre-market gap to the 112 high. They've been doing this all week on this one, MMTs. What a great short. So what we're basically doing, SMF traders, the FCX trades with the S&P 500. So FCX, that's this chart right here, FCX 3-minute opening bell MMTs, is that the relationship with this chart right here, which is the S&P 500. Okay? And that's that gap, and that's that pullback. And when you take a look at the big gap on FCX, that's this chart right next to it, that FCX, there's that big gap, and there's that fade back. And basically, it's a good place to get long. Off the bottom was 110.72, and it's holding that teeny action. And you can notice that the S&P 500 is consolidating that, and both have that pre-market gap. We've been open for 15 minutes with the buyers and the sellers, and we are holding kind of pat right here. You can see the Dow, the NYSE, the NYSE 100, Nasdaq comp, S&P. The fear indicators are all here. We can see where we're at as far as the strength of the current trend ratio at 0.44. 0.62 was the high MMTs. The intraday trend ratio low was 0.2, and the bid and ask ratio is 3.9 by 46. If we go higher in value here, we go higher there, and same thing over here with the FCX. So shorting the gap on the FCX trade was right, and we put in the bottoms there, and I will be happy to show the price print on the FCX. I will pull up, open the brain. You can see that the high was 112. You can see that they just made a low, and the opening was 111.92, and that's when you sell short. And the S&P also did the same thing. So when you're looking at FCX, also look at this S&P 500 index right here. Follow my cursor. That's this one. Okay. So basically, short that artificial price gap. Pull that down in here to your teeny line. And you're going to see where that momentum will come back in. Once again, it was a 2-for-1 stock split announcement. They gapped it in the futures. That's where the sell short was. And basically, the S&P 500, you can see they both did the same thing. And they both have this is the FCX. It's struggling here. And the S&P is trying to consolidate this teeny action line. And if we break higher above this on the S&P and we break higher above this on FCX, that would be the move. So MMTs, let's stay tuned. Watch your indexes. We are approaching almost that 20-minute bell. That means that all the emotion on the gap is starting to have some price action stability. Either they're going to bring it all the way down. If they do, it'll fill the teeny line and the S&P will contract. The S&P 500 is at 1231.97. The time is 6:50 a.m. 12/9/2000.